This show is brought to you by Beco Dairy Automation. You have tuned in to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all-dairy connection. We call it the Dairyman's source for new ideas, information, and technology, mixed with a double dose of current market conditions. The what, the why, and the how things influence the amount of money dairy producers receive for their daily milk deliveries. We offer this daily News Hour magazine as a catalyst to make long-term dairy producers sustainable. We invite every dairy producer in America to get their daily dose of what can be done and what they can do to achieve and maintain profitability on their farms. $22 for 36 months is our goal. We advocate there is a way forward. We invite dairy producers to come listen, to learn, and to participate. This is a no complaint zone. We talk solutions. So get out your pen and paper. Here is your host of the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, Tom Van Nortwick, owner of Agribusiness Publications, publisher and editor of the Agribusiness Dairyman magazine.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday morning, the 8th day of March, 2016. We express our appreciation for the opportunity we have, as usual, to have a small role in perpetuating the sustainability, profitability of dairy producers across the country. And as we look at the morning news, never more important work, I think, that we've ever done. We had a great day yesterday out in the field with dairy producers, knocking doors, basically, is what we've been doing to spread the word about what we're trying to get done and to give them an opportunity to give feedback. It's always the best thing for me on any given day is to find out what dairy producers are thinking and doing, why do they think the way they think, and why do they do what they do, and some pretty entrenched ideas and practices that continue to perpetuate some of the solutions and some of the problems as well. But we're grateful for those that took the time yesterday to teach us. I keep learning, and that I hope has a positive influence on everything that we do now and in the future. Every morning we come together at 8:30 a.m. in the Pacific time zone, 11:30 in the East. Take a little look at the news, and we'll do that here in a moment, and then move on to the double dose of markets that we give everyone every day. And almost, I guess we could call it a triple dose, because we do start with Ron O'Brien in a while, walking through the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, buying and selling of blocks and barrels, then to dry powder, and finally at the end of the market day there in dairy, we'll hear how about the butter trades. So some news this morning. Fonterra sees little prospect for global dairy prices recovering before the end of the year. Very tough times ahead for dairy farmers as Fonterra cuts milk payout forecast to $3.90 a kilo. CWT assists with 3.9 million pounds of cheese and butter. And one of these days, our cover story is going to be on CWT. I was thinking that this morning as I read through that. We need to visit that in all aspects of the dairy as part of our cover stories as they come and go every day here on the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine. The 1 hour all dairy connection, we hope that will be beneficial over time to dairy producers and others in the industry. The dairy industry's dismal prices is a result of too much inventory and slumping sales, is another article. The market is pretty bearish, he says. Next week we will see more volatility. We will just keep chopping around. But let's read the little article. It came out in with the help of California Ag Today and their deputy editor Patrick Kavanaugh, and this is what he wrote. And why in the world do I have to contend with this? Sport and sports of all forms. Yeah, wonderful. that comes up right in the middle of what I need to read to you. Well, the importance of what's going on in the industry, and that's not that one. Okay. The dairy industry's dismal prices far below production costs. And let's see if I can slide that down there. That's how I can do it. Okay. In California, the number one dairy state, as well as across the nation, is the result of too much inventory and slumping sales, especially in export markets. Leslie Bees Butler, UCANR, I don't know what ANR stands for, I apologize, but Cooperative Extension Specialist and lecturer in dairy production, marketing, and policy at the UC Davis Department of Agriculture and Resources Economics, addressed the question, why does the U.S. dairy industry keep producing too much milk? And she goes on to say, it's easier said than done, said Butler. And for many producers, it comes down to an income problem. Most production units are set up on a certain sort of scale. If you like, let's say I'm a dairy producer all set up and ready to milk 800 or 1,000 cows. Then you come along and tell me, well, you ought to reduce it a bit. Quickly, that dairyman considers his next step. There may be a couple of things I can do first. I can get rid of some cows. My lowest producing cows, noted Butler. You can do that. It would be one sort of temporary solution to the problem. Second, Butler continued, I won't add those high-producing heifers back into the herd, but they are the most efficient cows. So as I add them back in, I have to cut more lower-producing cows. Many heifers are much better producers than their mothers, so it just reduces the life cycle of the moms, he said. And of course, cash flow in the dairy industry is so important, Butler explained. You know, there is a limit to how much dairy farmers can reduce their income without impacting too seriously their ability to pay off their costs and loans, etc., etc. And so that's her comment this morning, and it's a lot of what we've already heard, and we understand that. Why in the world? I was yesterday with a dairy producer, and one of the things that came up with, well, what about our efficiencies? You know, we're trying to be as efficient as we possibly can, make as much milk as we possibly can at the lowest possible costs. And should we trade off those efficiencies? And I think the economics of that are that, you can keep working on the efficiency issue, but when you're getting half as much for your milk as you could get for your milk, even, let's say it's $4 a hundredweight, efficiencies tend to go out the window a little bit when you start talking about getting a pay price, which is $4 a hundred under what you could get, what's potentially available in the marketplace. And so I got a smile out of that, at least when I brought that up, because to me, I'd rather efficiencies are important, but I'd rather have the money per hundredweight. I think that's an important part of what we do. Let's see, New Zealand, Australia, we always have a lot going on there. And it's good for us to look overseas, because I think it is a preemptive of what we're going to see here in this country. If they're at $9 and $10, which is what we know they are, producer brought that up yesterday. Well, because I always contend that why should U.S. dairy producers be receiving global prices for their U.S. milk production consumption? And he quickly pointed out, well, they're not global prices. Global prices are even lower. And I'm going, whoa, that's like saying, you know what, I'm better off than him because I've only got lung cancer in one lung and he's got it in both lungs. I just wanted to say, come on, just because you are receiving global prices. The price of milk in the United States is being dramatically impacted by the global price of milk and the milk production around the world, which crashed the global demand, which impacted the pay price of milk in the United States, when in fact, guess what? The demand for U.S. milk has not changed at all. Not at all. Bulgarian milk producers threaten protest over low farm gate prices. Okay, now we've got Bulgarian problems. It just keeps going on and on. These European guys, they're interesting because they don't mess around. When they get mad about something, Bulgarian milk producers have threatened protest action on March 24th over the farm gate prices of their produce, which they see as too low. Man, I'll tell you. Oh, there it comes back. I keep moving around. Meeting in Stara Zagora in southern Bulgaria, milk producers have also asked the prosecuting authorities to launch a probe of a suspected cartel agreement among milk processing factories. The milk producers urged the government to halt tax-free imports of palm oil or impose a tax on those imports. Half of proceeds from the new tax could go to the budget of the health ministry, while the other half could be paid as a subsidy to cattle growers. Palm oil is used by food manufacturers globally to enhance texture, emulsify the ingredients, or, in the case of dairy milk, to increase its fat content. Whoa. That's interesting. I hope not. Abolishment of milk quotas in the EU in 2015. Remember that a year ago? Ooh, not a good plan, but it happened. And the indirect effects of the Russian embargo. And that's really sad. The timing of that couldn't have been worse. With more imports of raw milk from the EU have led to a decline in milk prices in Bulgaria, forcing less competitive producers off the market. Less competitive producers. It's just I had that happen yesterday. We've still got producers, the bad producers we need to get rid of. And I'm going, how many bad producers were there in the United States? Because according to Horde's Dairyman, since 1992, we've gotten rid of 82,000 bad producers. Really? There were 82,000 bad producers we had to get rid of? I really don't think so. Are there better producers than others? Maybe. I'm not the judge of that. They're producing the best quality milk in the country. They all have certain standards they have to meet. And in this particular article, less competitive. Oh, they were less competitive. No, they got paid a farm price for their milk below cost of production, and it broke them. In most cases. Well, it's just interesting to see, and the news helps us. It is no small matter that we review the news coming out of the dairy industry on a regular basis. Underneath that article, global ultra-high temperature milk will process to USD 137.7 billion in 2019. So they're projecting just before the 2020 click of the clock that will be ultra-high temperature milk will be 137.7. And the interesting thing about that is that there is a huge market for that. And the reason there will be a huge market for that is because of the refrigerated conditions, of course, in many countries around the world, and conditions, the remoteness of where people live in all parts of the world, including China. Ultra-high temperature does make sense. Is it for me? No. Am I glad it's not part of the American culture? Yes, absolutely. But it may be, and not maybe, it will be a player in the months and years ahead, as that, just like A2 milk. A2 milk will be a player in the months and years ahead. And so it's just interesting that we see these trends evolving, and we can watch them, and that's so important that we do. And hang on, because I'm trying to get Mr. O'Brien on the phone with us today. And so as we see these things happen here in the Daily News Hour, we can kind of get a sense of what's coming and why things are evolving the way they are.
Hello, I'm Eva Strang, Education Coordinator for the Allied Milk Producers. Cereal and milk have always been a mainstay for breakfast, at least since 1882. That's when the first commercially manufactured cereal was made by Henry Perky. It was called shredded wheat, and it's still with us today as one of the most popular cereals. Remember, breakfast is probably the most important meal of the day, and a good breakfast includes nutritious dairy foods like milk on cereal. A good way to start the day.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
We've joined Ron O'Brien and his conference call broadcast that he does every morning, Monday through Friday, from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. This is a service that Ron O'Brien has provided to his clients. He is a senior global strategist with Interfoods out of Florida. And so we listen in just to see what's happening and what sometimes a very small impact. Okay, and there's the movement in the blocks and barrels this morning. Not much activity. Unfortunately, no loads traded, so we're not getting any movement on product either. This appearance is always good, and that's one of the things that we focus on all the time now. Is and I give you a graphic, and it makes more and more sense as I've said it to myself more than once now. Is that unfortunately we took an elevator down on these prices. And it relates to how we're going to get back up. And unfortunately, we're relegated. We never get to take the elevator back up. We took the elevator down, and I've gotten down to $13.10 for milk here in California. And the prospect is very high that it will fall into the 12s at some point in time in the here in later March, April, May, and even into the summer. We'll have to see. Hopefully, we will have rallied some support for a better plan long before then, but we'll have to see how that goes. It'll be up to the producers for the most part, but this elevator going down has now, we've ridden that, and here we are, and we've been told, okay, if you're going to go back up, use the stairs. So we open the door and walk into the stairwell, but the stairwell has now been completely filled with excess inventory. Every stair, all the way up, one flight after the other, will have to be cleared of excess inventory prior to achieving a higher price, because even, if you looked at the numbers last week, China came in real heavy in the month of February and bought a ton of stuff, more than a ton. Spent a lot of money to do it, but unfortunately for us, they got it at half price, so they got it at the cheaper price, and so we needed higher prices. That would have been better, but they bought up some inventory and they moved it. And our friends at the CWT, through the National Milk Producers Federation, they have this CWT program which assesses dairymen, and they go out and so on a regular basis, and I'll click on it here. We get this report, and out of Arlington, Virginia, cooperatives working together, CWT, has accepted 6 requests for export assistance from Dairy Farmers of America, Land O'Lakes, Maryland, Virginia, Milk Producers Association, and the Northwest Dairy Association, and in parentheses Dairy Gold, and have contracts to sell 1.581 million pounds, 717 metric tons of cheddar and Monterey Jack cheese, and 2.315 million pounds, that equals to 1. And so Jack cheese we've got going, and let's see, and 1,050 metric tons of butter, 82% milk fat. 2 customers in Asia, North Africa, Middle East, and Central America. The product has been contracted for delivery in the period from March through September of 2016. So far this year, CWT has assisted member cooperatives and have contracts to sell 9.815 million tons of cheese, 7.716 million tons of butter, and 6.848 million tons of whole milk powder to 13 countries on 5 continents. The sales are the equivalent of 314,194 million tons of milk on a milk fat basis. Assisting CWT members through the Export Assistance Program helps member cooperatives gain and maintain market share, thus expanding the demand for U.S. dairy products and the U.S. farm milk that produces them. This, in turn, positively impacts all U.S. dairy farmers by strengthening and maintaining the value of dairy products that directly impact their milk price. The amounts of dairy products and related milk volumes reflect current contracts for delivery, not completed export volumes. CWT will pay export assistance to the bidders only when export and delivery of this product is verified by submission of the required documentation. The Cooperatives Working Together CWT Export Assistance Program is funded by voluntary contributions from dairy cooperatives and individual dairy farmers. The money raised by their investment is being used to strengthen and stabilize the dairy farmers' milk prices and margins. For more information about CWT, visit www.cwt.coop. C-O-O-P. Okay, so that's what CWT does, and it's you know what? It is product movement. What we don't know, and what would be interesting to find out is, okay, so how much assistance are we giving? How much is being written down? And how low are we going to go in order to produce the price that will trigger the sale? I've always wondered that, and nobody ever tells us that. You never see anything about that. And so, let's see, China producing in the news, China producing more grain than ever, but imports and shortfall still a problem. Okay? And so, China's not going away. They are one of the biggest elephants in the room, and they're not going away, so we can see if that progresses. We're going to be joining now back to Ron O'Brien here at It's Always About Five-Tail, coming up on the opening of dry powder at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Let's listen in.
Hacer algo mucho más agresivo.
Okay, right out of the gate. even bid on 2. PKF joins a bid as well, 2 times, so a total of 4 bid.
El tema es que está produciendo
73 and a quarter bid on 2 PKF.
recuerda que él no tiene
3 half bid on 1 by Trev, 375 bid on 1 by PKF. 73, 75 bid on 2. 70 74 even bid on 2 by PKF. 77 even offer by PPT. 74 even bid on 76 even offer by SAW. 74 bid, 76 offer. Minard joins a bid, 74 even. Offered at 76 by SAW. Total of 3 bid at 74 even, 2 PKF, 1 Minard. What's the call here? First call. Second call. Third. SAW sells 3 at 74 even. 2 to PKF, 1 to Minard. No bid. 73 and a half bid on 2. 73 and a half on 2. Trev joins the bid 1 time. 3 on the bid. 3 half on 2. 375 bid on 1 by Minard. 4 and a quarter offer by SAW. What's that? You said buy it? Buy it. You said buy the 74 and a quarter? Buy the 74 and a quarter. I just bought that. I just said buy it. Ash bought it. What's bid? 375 bid on 1 by Trev. 74 even on 2. What's here? 77 offer by PPT. So Trev joins the bid at 74 even. 74 and a quarter bid on 1 by Minard. Posting. Okay, second call. SAW sells 1 at 74 and a quarter to Minard. 74 even bid on 2. 74 even bid. 2 times. No offer. 77 offer by PPT. First call. SAW sells all 3, but 2 at 74 even from SAW. 74 on 2. 74 even bid by Ash behind me. Posting. Okay. SAW sells all 3. 73, 75 bid on 1 by Trev. 74 on 2. 74 on 2 again. Trev joins the bid 1 time. 74 is bid on 3. Posting. First call. Second call. SAW sells all 3. Less than a minute till the hard close. 74 on 2. PKF joins the bid. 74 even 2 times. Trev joins as well. Total of 5 bid at 74 even about 30 seconds till the hard close. There's 74 even bid on 2 behind by Ash. There's no calls. 74 and a quarter on 2. I'll tell you the 2 and 4 to 74 and a quarter trade 2 times. SAW sells the 74 even bid on 1. What's it? 4 even bid on 1. 74 on 2. 4 even bid. No, 5 on 2. SAW sells us those 2 at 74 even. sold some to Ash as well behind us. One to Trev, I believe. I think that was a total of 4 times 74 even.
I think that's exactly
Yeah, oh, sorry, the last 5. Yeah. Okay, so we did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We did
Just trying to get as many, see what the number of the volume was. Stand by. 21 loads, 420 ton. Stand by for butter, 11:05.
Move over, Manny, Mo, and Jack. For quick, convenient auto service and no appointment needed, ask for G Express service from Gorpetti Automotive in Visalia. We'll guarantee an oil and filter change in as little as 39 minutes. And there's more. Need your tires rotated? A brake job? Even a 15,000-mile service? There's no appointment necessary, and we'll guarantee your service time. G Express. It's a new level of convenience you'll only find at Gorpetti Automotive.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
We're open butter. 197 bid, 2 offer.
Trev chose the offer 1 time. We offered at 202. Admitted it.
Sí, no, exactamente, pero ok, adelante. No han hecho el desde la semana pasada.
30 seconds till the call here. 197 bid on 1 GTL. On the offer at 202.
Para satisfacer a USDA, no es
15 seconds till the call.
Sí,
$1 at $2.50. Steady offer by me. 1 time.
Okay, thank you.
BJM joins the offer 2 times. 3 on the offer. $2.50. Goes to the call. First call. Second call. Offer 1 and no corner. 1 1/4 offer by me. BJM joins as well. 1 time. I'm just offering 1.
El procedimiento está listo y lo puso muy bonito, Milo. Yo estoy de acuerdo con el procedimiento. Lo que pasó
1 and 0 even. 975 offer by BJM. 99.75 offer by BJM 1 time.
todo el día diciéndote que por favor saquen todas las cosas en el momento.
Second call. Third. 99.25 offer by BJM.
Si falta usted.
Posting. First call. Second. Over 1 and 99 even. 99 even offer by me.
Eso es diferente. Ahora, lo que
875 offer by BJM.
tú no te tienes todo, entonces no tienes que agarrar el cuello a alguien que no tienes algo. Entonces, si no tienes algo, agárralo.
Over 1 and 90 and a half.
Habla conmigo.
8.5 offer by BJM. Still 97 bid by GTL.
Okay.
Posting. First call. Second call. Over 1 and 98 and a quarter. And a quarter offer by me.
Porque
Still 97 bid by GTL.
comercial y
Even offer by BJM. BJM sells 1 at 97 at GCL.
Y para que te empiece a dar a ti, porque tiene mucho trabajo ahorita. Tiene mucho trabajo ahorita, pero todo. Y descubro que uno de los que no fueron después de que los jodí tanto, entonces
6 even bid on 1 by GTL. 96 even bid. No offer. Posted. First call. Second call. Third. Close. All right, so going to settle right there. 197 even, down 3.5. One load traded, just going off GTL.
As dairy farmers watch profits slip away and a wonderful way of life painfully comes to an end for future generations, Dairy Pricing Association sees a brighter future simply by having a solution. These dairy pricing farmer members in 10 states and growing have figured out a way. Government handouts are not the answer. It's time for farmers to take matters in their own hands. Dairy Pricing Association is asking for farmers to contribute 10 cents per hundredweight to buy surplus dairy products to create a floor price, as well as helping relieve hunger in America. This is a win-win. As dairy farmers, we watch markets fluctuate as much as $4 per hundredweight in 1 month's time. 10 cents is nothing. Imagine being able to curb another 2009 scenario simply by controlling the floor price that you need as a dairy farmer to stay in business. With the dairy products that you as a dairy pricing member purchase, thousands of people are fed. No government assistance is needed. Rather, simply you as a dairy farmer are helping yourself by helping others. For more information, visit online dairypricing.org.
Are you restricting the profitability of your dairy herd? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166. Check our website at becoKnows.com.
Okay, there we have the end of the butter. Butter settling down again. On one load traded, 197.5 off a couple cents. Butter will likely, in our estimation, will continue to slide. It's been strong. It's been a blessing to have the strength of butter to help support domestic prices paid to dairy producers. But nevertheless, we've got a situation where there's just so much being produced all over the country and around the world that it's will continue to put more and more pressure. I was reading earlier, and I'm worried, Stuart, that I may not have had my mic turned back on. So I'm gonna cover a little more of this story on China, and try and match this up where we were. Mr. Han Chengfu, who is the agricultural minister for China, was interviewed while he participated in the 12th National People's Congress in Beijing on Monday. And it's amazing. I mean, here we are Tuesday, and Monday just happened, and we have a report literally, on our computers, in our hands, that talks about what he said and what his thinking is, and how much he's revealing of what's really going on. Who knows? But it's important that we gain an improved understanding of China and what makes them tick and why they do what they do the way they do it. But Han said planned measures included using more corn to feed livestock, and to embarking on crop rotation by planting corn and beans. There has been a debate over whether the mainland's grain supply is too much or too little. The country's total output keeps increasing, with stock reaching all-time high. And, of course, as we reported earlier, 14 consecutive years. Was it 12 or 14? I'm wrong. 12th consecutive year of production increases there in China in their own grain production. Grain production over last year was 620 million tons, higher than 2014 607. Excluding imports, the supply was 25 million tons less than what was needed, so they could have used some more. And of course, 25 million tons is no small amount, but they produced 620 and imported some more, no telling how much. But they still came up what they felt was 25 million tons less than what was needed. During the same period, grain imports rose 20% from 2014 to 120. So they had 620, 120. They're up at 740 million, and they needed somewhere around 800. Would have been a good number. If you ask me to choose, now this is the ag minister, if you ask me to choose between excess grain supply and deficient supply, I would prefer the first one because with food at hand, we would not be flurried, Hahn said, adding the current supply wasn't substantially redundant. The official said the mainland faced a rigid and incremental demand for grain in the mid and long term before the population reached its peak. The remarkable increase in demand for grain came from more mouths to feed and the urbanization drive. With the relaxation of population controls, it's calculated that more than 10 million people will be born over the next 5 years. More people will live in cities compared with rural residents. Urban dwellers eat less rice, but consume more meat, eggs, milk, nuts, and vegetables based on our calculations. A person living in cities generally consumes far more agricultural products than a person living in villages. Hahn said the large amount of grain exports were due to the shortage of specific products and lower prices in international markets. Okay, there it is. Bingo, they're watching the markets. It isn't they just got a lot of cash, and they do have a lot of $100 bills, because we ship $100 bills and they ship containers of stuff to us. And so they've got lots of money to throw down. But guess what? Hahn said the large amount of grain imports were due to the shortage of specific products and lower prices in international markets. Okay, so it helps them, and they understand and are watching the markets, and lower prices do mean something to them. They came in last month in the dairy world and bought up the most product they've ever bought up in 1 month, according to what I read. And I was just looking for that article again, and I'll have it again tomorrow, because I think we need to continue to focus a little time on this. But they bought up more stuff in the dairy world than they bought in a very long time. But the good news for them, bad news for us is they bought it at half price. Now, certainly the dollar's stronger against the yuan, their dollar, but they might have been buying with $100 bills and not. They could have been using cash and not, or the equivalent, however that works, and not having to use their currency. During the 13th five-year plan, the country won't pressure a continuous growth of grain output, but a bigger capacity, the minister said. Wow, they're doing some planning, the 13th five-year plan. Interesting. I'd like to know more about that. Well, there's just a lot of influencers in the picture here that's interesting in this article. It kind of brings home, China's big issues. There's a gentleman literally with a hand tool of some sort harvesting, and the caption says this: a villager works in the wheat field in Yanzihuang village of Woling town in Anyang City in central China, Henan province. In central China's Henan province. Grain production last year was 620 million tons, higher than 2014's 607. Excluding imports, the supply was 25 million tons less than what was needed. But here's this guy, short sleeve shirt, long pants, and he's using a hand tool of some sort to cut this wheat. Now, I don't know if that's all being done by hand, but wow, it's an interesting thing that they accomplish. And the organization and the synergy of large numbers of people is nothing to be mocked or to be discounted in any way. I think that they, like India, will continue to be a force to be reckoned with, a game changer because of what they can do. And they're focused on getting done, making sure that their people are better fed. And it just sounds like to me they have a far better grasp of what it's going to take to help their people than say Russia does. And India sounds like the same way, more concerned about their people, I think, than in years past. And certainly more than the way the leadership in, say, a country like North Korea, how they feel about their people. And that boy needs to stop spending money on missiles and launches, and he needs to get some food in there for his people. That'll eventually come home to roost over time, but I'm not sure when that will take place. But food and food insecurity and scarcity will motivate a population into an uprising almost faster than anything else. What we didn't realize, a lot of people didn't realize about the Egyptian spring that took place, was a lot of that was based on quality of life issues, like having food, having quality food, not experiencing food shortages or food scarcity. The rest of the world is watching what's going on in places like the United States and the European Union and countries where advancements have provided a much, much higher quality of life for their citizens. And yet you have despots and individuals like the leadership. Even in Russia, I was disappointed in Putin that he rounded up all the black market cheese and black market dairy that had gotten in there. And it's going to, because when you ban something, guess what happens to the price of it? It starts to get real lucrative, and there's enough organized crime in Russia that, all of a sudden it may not be drugs, but it's cheese that they're hauling around and distributing late at night on the corners or in the back alleys. Well, he rounds it all up, and instead of, letting the people have it, they destroy it all. That just makes no sense at all. When you've got people that need food, want the food, and either that or it got, benched, put someplace where the hierarchy, the leadership, and those privileged individuals could get to it and utilize it for their benefit. And I think that's largely what's happened in some of these countries around the world. And that's why it's very hard to send aid and assistance into some of these places, because leadership has not the integrity necessary, based on what we've learned, to see to it that it gets to their people.
Imagine life without cheese. Okay, it's a horrible thought, but we're only pretending. Pasty pizzas, blah burritos, colorless casseroles, the mind boggles. Cheese transforms the eating experience. It can be creamy or crumbly, sharp or sweet, hot and gooey, or room temperature. With hundreds and hundreds of different varieties, cheese can really add zing to your meals. Behold the power of cheese, presented by the Allied Milk Producers.
So if you make distributions of food and products, you need to have the infrastructure in place so that it gets, to the end of the row. It gets to the people who need the food, and many times that roadblock is put up by the leadership of these various countries, where their population, like North Korea, literally, they need food more than they need missiles. And that leader needs to be, he either needs to change or he needs to be removed by their people. He does not have the qualities of leadership necessary. When you can't or won't take care of your people, when you don't get along with your neighbor, and won't, you just, not only do you not want to, but you just don't. And when you start causing those kind of problems within and without your country, then you're the wrong guy. You're the wrong man in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the people will have to decide that. That's their job. The people of North Korea will have to resolve that. Unless he steps out of line. If he crosses over and starts hurting other people in other countries, then he's fair game for all of us. That's the way it ought to work. So I diverge from my milk, though. We had a good time yesterday talking to dairy producers about the way forward, about focusing our attention on the organization of dairy producers behind a plan to fortify milk on a national basis, all 49 states, for better taste and more nutrition, and to do our level best at getting dairy products into the hands of all of our citizens. We're not perfect. In fact, I'm throwing stones here because the statistical data that we see is 49 to 65 million people in America will not get dairy today. And so that continues to be an issue. But I see it as an opportunity. What we've really got to do is address it as an opportunity for dairy producers. That you don't have to chase global, which is so volatile, and so you're competing to be the lowest cost producer and provider of milk in the world, and you can't compete there. You won't win. You just will not win. We can't afford to go there. And so why don't we focus all of our attention on domestic? We've got a wonderful domestic market, which, based on our numbers, it could actually be somewhere between 15 and 30% more milk consumption, milk utilization in this country if we did things just a little bit different. And as dairy producers, take full responsibility for all the milk you bring into the system, whether it's sitting in the truck, it's on its way to the processor, it's at the manufacturers, or it's already in inventory. You've got to be responsible for what's taking place with that in order to get what you need most, which is a profitable price for your milk every day, all the time, in all classes, and in all parts of the country. Dairy producers have got to take full responsibility. Under the Capper-Volstad Act of 1922 and the law which is in place at this time, dairy producers have the right and opportunity to sit in common and determine the outcome of their milk, determine the pay price of milk, to determine how to sell it, how to market it, and what to do with it. It's yours. You produced it. And that's a very unique opportunity. And so we see these things, the fact that there's a lot of people in the United States that would like more dairy but can't afford more dairy. There's an opportunity. There's a lot of need to have better tasting, more nutritious milk in this country for our children, our teenagers, and especially for our elderly. And if A2 is a factor because it allows more people to enjoy more dairy because of the A2 protein compared to the A1 protein, boy, then we need to embrace that. Organics found their market. I think A2 will find their market. Ultra-high temperature will find its market. Is it at my house? No. But I can see and have been to places in this world where that is a better choice than no choice. It's a better plan for children and the elderly and teenagers and those who need the vital nutrients that are in dairy to enhance their lives and provide a more stable, healthy population. You know, because healthcare and that is not cheap either. It's a whole lot smarter to get and stay healthy than it is to pay the ramifications of poor health. And brought on especially by poor nutrition, when in fact the nutritional issues can be resolved. The amount of food and the quality of the food is all choices that we need to make and improve upon and do a better job for and in behalf of the people of this country, starting in America, but also around the world. So it's a fun thing to be involved in when you can actually be involved in bringing a better quality product, high nutrition, better tasting to the marketplace and provide opportunity for those people who are producing it, much better opportunity than to be relegated to the current conditions that dairy producers face here in America and especially around the world. And so there are choices and there are opportunities, and we advocate wholeheartedly that dairy producers embrace them. And so we will do our level best to organize that effort and to be able to perpetuate that message by every means possible. And so this NewsHour magazine, the market broadcast from Ron O'Brien, the news articles of the day, because it's all right here in front of us. We didn't make this up. We didn't create this. This is not some big production that says, oh, yeah. We've got a master plan. No, the way forward is right in front of you. It's here and available all the time. And I appreciate what we read about China today because, I think there is a big plan there. There's a big plan in India. There's a big plan in some of these countries to help their people, and that's beneficial. Are they enhancing the government resources? Yeah. But you know what? When they make more milk and they sell more milk and they compete with us, yeah, but that's the market. I had a dairy producer say, well, I really like the free market. Well, that's good. Then participate in the free market. Don't just sit there and let it act upon you. The free market is a participatory game, and it offers opportunities to those who, what we like to say all the time around here is, you got to be smarter than the problem. You got to be smarter than 1310 milk. And if there are opportunities, then we need to be embracing them, and you need to act in common, collectively, supporting each other. The synergy of that is so critical. Cooperation, synergy, achievement. Those are the opportunities that avail themselves in the dairy industry if we, in the producer sector, are willing to carry the ball. We need leadership. We need cooperation. We need to allow that to translate itself into the synergy of getting things sold, more of it, gone. And, of course, better tasting, more nutritious. I cannot overemphasize how important that's going to be in the next 10 years. Better tasting and more nutritious. It's where the market's going. It's what consumers want. They want more taste, more nutrition. They want high quality. They're going to, there's just going to be a trend, towards continuing trend to better health, better nutrition, better utilization of dollars for protein and nutrients. It's just what these young people are learning. They've heard, they've seen the difference. Do you take this way or that way? And they're going to take better taste, more nutrition. And all we have to do is be there to provide it. But we've also got to enhance our mechanisms so that the largest segment of our population gets all the dairy they want when they need it and where they need it. So fortification nationwide, utilization of inventories to help feed the hungry, and to put that food source into their distribution process. The feeding mechanism for 49 million people does not include dairy right now. And we need to see to it that it does, and we have an opportunity to see that happens. And it's going to be a blessing to all of us. And so stay tuned. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. It'll be Wednesday, the 9th of March, 2016. We'll have a little more to offer. There'll be more news and more markets as we continue to go forward, communicating the message to dairy producers nationwide. Everyone have a safe day, and goodbye.
Pico Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us at 1-800-344-7166.
To learn or hear more, please join us for our daily News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all-dairy connection. It is broadcast live every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific and 11:30 a.m. Eastern. You can join the broadcast by calling 712-432-0900. Your conference PIN number is 666632#, or you can listen to the recorded call by dialing 712-432-0990. using your same PIN number for personal access. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We truly believe you need to and can know more. Our job is to deliver more knowledge to dairy producers, believing that if knowledge is power, then applied knowledge is nuclear power. We'll see you on the call.